Hi guys, welcome back. Week 2 of online learning. Coach Hudson and myself will be teaching you guys a little bit about ellipses. Okay, so we're going to start out with an equation such as this. And a couple things I want to point out to you before we get into this is it's always going to equal 1, and we're always going to have a plus sign. Okay? So now what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to give me 2 points. Okay? And those 2 points are going to allow us to graph this. If we look at this x squared and we review, we always have this value of x and y. So if we look at this x squared, the number here that we're focusing on is 36. Okay? What I want us to do is take the square root of that number, which is going to be 6, and then we're going to represent y as 0. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and plot those 2 points here, and I'm going to go from 0, 0, and I'm going to go over 6 points on my x-axis to the right, go back to 0, 0, and go over 6 points on our left, and we're going to plot points just like that. Additionally, I'm going to do the exact same thing with this term. Okay, I'm going to set x to 0, and I'm going to take the square root of 25, which is 5. And I'm going to go from point 0, 0, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plot my point, and I'm going to go back to 0, 0, and I'm going to go down 5, plot my point, and I'm there. Okay, now that's one way that we're going to show you how to do these. The other way is I'm going to physically give you points here. So let's say I gave you the point 4, 0 and 0, 2. Okay, and I'm going to ask you to write an equation. So what I'm going to ask you to do is reference what we set up here. And it's going to be x squared over our number plus y squared over our number. And once again, it's always going to equal 1. Now, for this particular problem, we look here and we see that that value is in the x place. So we know that we're going to use x squared over whatever that number is squared plus y squared over that number squared, which is 4. If you were asked to graph that, you would go over 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, because we go back to that original here, both ways. Okay, plot our points, then we go back to this number up here, and we go up 1, 2, plot our points, and we go down 1, 2, plot our points, and that's our ellipse. Now, before Mr. Hudson takes over, I do want to show you one additional problem with doing these that you will see on your worksheet. So if I gave you the same directions, I want you to write an equation here, but I gave you these points and told you to write an equation. Well, one thing you're going to notice is every problem that we've done so far, that has always been a number in the x value. Well, now we don't have a number there. So what we would do is this would end up becoming y squared, because now we have a number in the y value, over that number squared, which is 25, which is always going to be plus. And then here we go with x squared over that number squared, which is 4, and that's always going to equal 1. We come over here, we graph, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will tell you guys, through the years teaching with Mr. Hudson, the biggest mistake I've seen is people not recognizing that that is y, and they go to the right and left 5 spots. This is very important that you go in the right direction here with this y. So there's my x. I'm going over 1, 2, and 1, 2 the other way, and that's my ellipse. Okay? So please make sure that you recognize when you have a y here. All right, Mr. Hudson.
Yep. All right, so just quick review. I want to look at the situation where you're graphing. I think the first equation that Mr. Anderson had up here was x squared over 36 plus y squared over 25 equals 1. So very simply put, you take the square root of these numbers. So you take the square root of 36 is 6, and you go 6 on the x-axis. So you go right and left 6 units, right? Then you go 5 units on the y-axis. Y-axis up and down, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have those 2 points. You connect the dots, that's your ellipse, okay? I want to add a little bit to that, and this is going to be kind of combining what you did last week with the circles and with the ellipses, okay? What we could do is you might get an equation that looks like this, maybe x minus 1 squared over 36 plus y minus 2 squared over 25 equals 1. So the question is, all right, what the heck does this 1 and the 2 do up there? Well, what that does is the same thing that last week did with the circles, and that is that our starting point, instead of, look over here on the left, our starting point was at 0, 0. We went up, down, left, and right from that 0, 0. Now, our starting point is going to be from the coordinate 1, 2. And the 1 is coming from here, and I'm going with the opposite sign, just like last week, and the 2 is coming from here, because the 1 is with the x, and the 2 is with the y. So I'm going to go to the coordinate 1, 2, and I'm going to start from that point, going right and left 6 units, right and left because this is on the x-axis, so I'm going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units and put a dot there. To the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units and put a dot there. I'm going to go up and down 5 units on the y-axis, as in just go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from this point, so that's here, and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So now my ellipse looks very similar to that first one, except it just got shifted 1 to the right and 2 up. Let me do another example. Let's say we have, and I'm going to change this up a little bit, maybe y plus 2 squared over 4 plus, let's go with x minus 3 squared over 25 equals 1. All right? The first thing I'm going to recognize is where my center point is. Where am I going to start this graph? Well, the center point, the value with the x, all right, the value with the x is x minus 3, so that would be positive 3. All right, that's my x value. The value with the y, again, we go with the opposite sign of that, so it will be negative 2. So I'm going to go to the coordinate 3, negative 2. That's going to be my starting point. From there, my first value is a 4, and that is with a y value. So with the y is the up and down. I'm going up 2 units, and I'm going down 2 units. Remember, that's a 4, so I take the square root of that. I've got a 25, and that's with the x value. So I'm going right 5, okay, and that's from that center point, so right 5, and I'm going left 5. That puts me right here. So that ellipse would look like this. All right, we'll be getting a worksheet out to you, and probably send out maybe another example of how to work these out and when it comes to that time. All right, bye-bye.